This little guy in my hands is probably the most technologically capable rangefinder that I've ever come across, and I've tested everything here on Let's Play Through. This is the Windy from Caddytalk. It has features that I have never seen before, including its signature feature, which will actually measure the wind for you. And I'm not talking about the weather service, I'm talking about a sensor built into this rangefinder. Such a cool device. We're gonna put it through its paces as I show you everything it can do. We're gonna talk pros and cons and who I think this rangefinder for. Let's get to work. All right, here's your box. As you can see, they say master the wind, change your game. Packed with technology, as we'll see on the back here. First off, there's 3 different slope modes. Now I'm gonna cover these in much more detail out on the course, but they've got a wind slope. This is the newest innovation here from Caddytalk, where it's gonna measure the wind for us. You've got Magic Slope 2, so this is the 2nd generation of their Magic Slope technology. Again, I'll cover that out on course. And then you've got environmental slope, where this rangefinder can actually take into account the environmental factors out on the golf course on any given day. A few other amazing bits inside. You've got Caddy mode, which will literally triangulate distances out on course. I'll show you exactly how that works. You've got a horizon detect laser system, which will lock onto pins very easily, even if your hands are a little shaky. This is patented technology, as well as their pin finder technology, which again, really just ensures that you make a good lock onto the target. They've got a removable magnet, so we can place this on a golf cart very easily. Hopefully you don't lose it. And it has a rechargeable battery inside. Let's take a look at the package. First thing I see is kind of interesting choice here to use a rainbow effect, but I guess that kind of goes along with this theme of mastering your environment, but it's a really nice package. It's like a magnetic clasp. There you go. You can see you've got the rangefinder here behind some plastic, and we've got a really nice carrying case here in white. That's beautiful. It's got some weight to it as well. Inside the case, you've got your carabiner. You've got the charging cable, as I mentioned. This is a rechargeable, and then you've got an extra clip here, which seems like this one is the magnetic version. You've also got the manual and a cleaning cloth there as well. But the main attraction here is going to be the device itself. As you can see, Caddytalk always considers ergonomics. As you can see, again, very small, compact size. Up top, we've got the power button as well as the trigger to lock onto targets. On the bottom, we've got the mode button. So it's actually like a thumb click in order to do that. You've got the charging port down here where you can actually attach the cable. And then we've got the main attraction of this device, which is the onboard wind sensor. With one button click, it pops out, and then you can put it back in when you're not using it. Beautiful package here. Let's take it out on course so I can show you exactly how it works, and we're going to test everything out to see if it works. All right, the first thing I'm going to do here on course is actually swap out this piece here so we can actually attach the magnet on here, and that way I'm going to have a nice spot to put this rangefinder when I'm not using it. Huge that they added this. If you saw my reviews of the Caddytalk Cube, I begged them to please add that. They did create like a silicone case, but I think this is a perfect solution. If you want to be a pocket carrier, you have the other piece on. If you want to be a cart player like I am today, boom, you've got that. So you can choose your adventure out here. Now, one thing I should also mention about this magnet is it's not going to fit well in this case, which is probably why they've included an additional pouch. So if you are going to be using the magnet, keeping the magnet on there, use the pouch. If you're going to be using the flat side piece, then you'll be able to use the case and actually clip this case to your belt. All right, so what we're going to do here is actually go through all of the different modes here available with the Windy. The first mode that I'm going to use is environmental slope mode. What that's going to allow is for the slope adjustment to be based on temperature, altitude, and humidity. And boy, is it humid out here today. Now, you know you're in environmental mode when you've got an E on your screen. There's an E, there's an M, and there's a no slope. We're going to be in E right now. Now, out of the box, I've actually got to adjust this element here to be in focus, but it's very easy to do. We've got a flag out here on our first hole. That is 333 yards. That locked on extremely quick. And on top of that, I got a nice haptic feedback buzz to let me know. Now, if you're wondering, this rangefinder is accurate up to 1,093 yards, more than you're ever gonna need, but it's nice to have. Let's see if we can hit a good shot. All right, I'm gonna actually go mini driver here because there's some water there on the right that I wanna stay away from. I'm glad I hit mini driver because I'm heading right towards that water. Well struck, but right of target. So what's the best use case for environmental slope? I would say probably when you're traveling, when you're getting used to a new place, especially if you're at altitude. I'm here in flat Florida. I'm about 30 feet above sea level as we speak, but when I travel to a place like I was out in Colorado earlier this year, I've been to Utah where you're at really high elevations, you got to adjust your game, and that's where environmental slope could really come in handy because, again, not only that altitude adjustment, but also the humidity adjustment when you're out there in the desert, very dry as well, and that affects ball flight and how far these clubs are going to travel. So that would be a really good use case for this. The other feature that's actually built into this with all the modes is what they call horizon detection. And for those folks out there who have maybe shakier hands or you have trouble really holding a small device like this, still, it's going to actually sense where that horizon line is and give you a much better chance of acquiring your target quicker. So 120 is the number, and with the slope adjustment, it's actually 121. Again, they're talking about all the different environmental factors that could potentially come into play here. So I actually need to add 1 extra yard, but it could be more severe depending on where you're at. For me, this is going to be 50-degree wedge here today, but I've got to get all of it. I hope I've done that. All right, I actually came up short here into the bank and rolled all the way down. I'm going to be dropping the ball here, which is a darn shame. So all these slope functions are important to have, but you've also got to be able to hit the shots and think about the lie. And what I didn't do there is think about the lie. I was a little deep there into the grass, and it cost me at least 1 stroke. But let's see if we can chip a good one here and get us back into this. Oh, that was a good one. That's as good as I could do. Let's see if we do a little better on magic slope mode. All right, so I'm going to change modes here, and in order to do that, just simply hold this for about 2 seconds. We're going to go into the setup, and inside my viewfinder, I can hit that button a couple more times to scroll to where I see that E on the screen, and now I'm going to hit the trigger up top and change it to M. That M signifies magic slope. Now, this is the second iteration of magic slope from Caddytalk, and it's gotten even better. What magic slope does, and probably this is why I would use this more often than even the environmental slope mode, is it corrects the slope calculation based on the type of club you might be using from a particular distance. It's a very complex algorithm, but think about it this way. If I'm hitting a 4-iron, the trajectory I'm hitting that shot at is going to be considerably lower than the trajectory I'm going to be hitting a 9-iron at. It's also going to have a much different descent angle. And what Magic Slope 2 here is doing is taking into account that trajectory as well as the spin that would be applied to the ball from that shot. And it's actually going to give you a number that's going to be much more accurate than pretty much anything on the market in terms of a slope adjusted distance. It really is magic. And it's gotten better here again with Magic Slope 2 adding the spin. Now the other thing about M Slope mode which makes it really interesting is that there's 4 settings. Now these settings are, again, to give the algorithm even more data to make it even smarter in recommending distances for you. So there's a setting for men, for women, for pro men, and for pro women. They go off 7-iron distances. So for a man pro, that's 170 yards. And for a man, it's 140 yards. So just figure out where you are in that spectrum. And if you're a woman pro 155, and an amateur woman 110, depending on where you hit your 7-iron, you can actually set this in the rangefinder to get the proper slope adjustment here in M Slope mode. Very cool proprietary technology that only Caddytalk has. All right, so from our tee box here, approximately, I've got 388. Let's go ahead and take the driver out and hopefully get us into good position. Whew. Hit hard, might be in the right rough, but I like the contact. All right, now I'm actually on a hole here that for Florida and for Carrollwood Country Club, it's specifically where I'm playing here today. This is about the most elevated green we're going to have. It's actually elevated 15 to 20 feet from where I'm standing. So the actual distance is 126, but with that magic slope adjustment, 128 is what I need to hit here. It's going to be a pitching wedge for me. I've got another kind of rough lie here though, so hopefully I don't come up short. Oh, these lies are so buried. I don't think that's going to quite get there either. It's close though. It's up near the top. Again, the technology is only going to do so much. You've got to make the adjustments for the playing conditions that you're in. For instance, again, that ball really laying down there in the rough. But I'd probably rather have been a little short there than long, to be honest, because there's a big drop off. So I don't mind that. Having the information is great because then you can decide yourself what you want to do with it. But when you don't have the information, and you're just guessing out here, that's when things can get real ugly. Can't miss that putt. All right, so we're now heading to a par 3, and now it's time for me to show you the real standout feature of the Windy and why it gets its name. All right, so we're on a par 3 here, and I've got to hit a good shot because I've missed 2 greens. And don't think that the irony is not lost on me that I'm doing a technology video about how to improve your golf game, and I'm not playing the best golf, but we're gonna turn it around right now. So the third function is the wind measurement function. This is the first time a rangefinder has ever had this sensor actually built into the device. So what you're gonna do here is push this button, down on that button, it's gonna pop up the little sensor. I'm gonna hold this up in the air. I'm gonna hit the mode button once, and the reason I'm holding it up there is so that my body doesn't get in the way of any wind that might be out here. When you get some haptic feedback after about 2 seconds, push that button back in, and in your viewfinder, you're gonna see something a little different. I've got a reading that says the wind is actually coming from this direction. There's a little circle, and I've got a green pointer down in my bottom left-hand side. The wind is pretty light out here. It's only 2 miles an hour, and it's a little bit behind me too, and that's gonna affect the shot, removing just a little bit of distance. So whereas it's 156, I'm getting a slope adjustment of 154. So that little bit of wind is actually gonna cause me to hit a couple extra yard shot. Now there's not a lot of wind down here, but we certainly play here in days where it can be gusting. And in those cases, that wind can make a big difference. And if you're not able to accurately judge it, you're gonna probably misclub yourself. And just so you're aware, this sensor will read wind from 1.1 miles per hour to a maximum of 15.6 miles per hour. Now after 15.6, it's kind of a crapshoot on the golf course anyways, so it's probably not gonna make much difference in that calculation. You're just gonna have to feel it out on the golf course. But 15.6 is the maximum that the Windy can accurately measure. I'm gonna go 8-iron here on this 154 shot, see if we can hit a good one. Let's see if we got the right club this time. I'd love to have a green in regulation. I think I hit the perfect distance there. So we've got a birdie putt. It's a little bit longer because I'm on the left side of the green, but we got a putter in hand. That's the good news. So I think that is so cool, but there's also a couple things you've got to know about that sensor is it's very delicate. You always got to make sure that you push it back in so it can't be damaged. You don't want to let dust get in there or any humidity. So this is definitely a delicate device. It's not a rangefinder you can really throw around. We're going to talk about just what I think of the build quality here as we wrap things up. But first, hopefully I'll make this putt, and we're going to play one more hole, and I'm going to show you what I think is, again, another game-changing innovation that Caddytalk was the first to develop. We're seeing it now in more rangefinders, but they were the first to do it. These greens are in rough shape, so I don't mind a tap-in par right now. I'd like to just groove that cut in as my normal drive swing now. Or straight, that'll work too. So the final mode here that I want to show you is called Caddy mode, and we saw this with the original Caddytalk Cube. Again, Caddytalk was the first to develop this. If I press that mode button there on the bottom, it's actually going to now show me up top in the viewfinder that I'm in Caddy mode. And what that allows me to do is triangulate my distance between the ball and the flag, or really any point on the course. So what I'll do is hit the ball, then I'm going to hit the flag. It tells me that it is a 100-yard shot and slope adjusted for 98 yards. Let's go ahead and actually check this. The reason that you would want to do this is because let's say I'm playing in cart path only conditions, which happens a lot here in Florida. I don't want to take my whole bag of clubs across the fairway, or maybe I want to help my buddy out who is on the other side of the fairway and he needs a distance. Those are some really good use cases for this. But like I said, it's not just distances to the flag that you could measure. You could triangulate distances to hazards and other things on the course. It's just a really, really useful technology. Let's see if 100 yards was what it was. So I'm getting 99 actual yards. I have found using Caddy mode that it is generally within 1 or 2 yards, which again makes it really simple. I only brought one club out here and it's going to be the right one. Well, hopefully, as long as I put a good swing on it. Well, I thought I was putting, but it was a back pin and I'm actually long. Oh boy. Now, after I hopefully get up and down here, we're going to talk about the pros and cons here of the Windy. I wasn't going to think too hard about that one. So, Amazing, amazing device when it comes to technology. We're seeing something here, especially in that wind sensor, that we've never seen. Now, other rangefinders will use the weather service to give you an idea of what the wind might be doing, but nothing beats actually physically measuring it, in my opinion. Caddy mode, if you've never used it, really is a game changer, especially if you're a person that plays their golf in a golf cart and you're going to come up against times, like I said, where you're not going to be able to drive right out to your ball. It can be super helpful. And then the fact that they've got 2 other slope modes in the environmental and magic slope modes just make this an incredibly powerful unit, and at such a small size, something that you could just keep in your pocket like I did. I just think that is absolutely incredible. And of course, I love that they've included the magnet here for the first time on one of their devices, and the fact that you can swap it in and out if you do want to be a pocket carrier. Really, really cool. But there is no perfect piece of technology, so let's talk about some of the drawbacks potentially of this one. The first one for me is going to be the waterproof rating of this. It's IPX54, which basically means this will hold up under a light sprinkle, but you definitely do not want to expose this to serious elements and hard rain. You certainly don't want to submerge this either. All in all, that wind sensor is also going to be very delicate. And like I mentioned, you can't get dust in there, humidity, anything like that. And you've got to make sure that you keep it closed when you're not using it. So it's going to be a more delicate device, and that could be a potential drawback for folks. And if you're a person that's really a stickler about your equipment, you keep it in the case when you're not using it, that sort of thing, then you probably won't have any issues with it. But I just can't give you an honest review without bringing up that fact. Now, the second potential hiccup for folks could be the price. It's not an inexpensive rangefinder. This is $399 at MSRP. So it's going to be an investment. And again, you're going to want to make sure that you keep really good care of this. The good news for you is I do have a discount code, which I'm going to leave below. It should save you a few bucks here off the Windy. But all in all, if you are a tech person, if you're a person that appreciates having really cutting bleeding edge technology, you're a careful person and you've got the money to spend, this will be the coolest rangefinder and certainly a talking point when you're playing golf with your buddies. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, please hit that subscribe button. I enjoyed making it. Wish I played a little bit better, but that's golf. I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.